Hi, this is Dave Nourie, and you're watching Old Fat Guy Relearn BMX.
Genius! I'm here with BMX legend, hero of mine, the OG of Flatland on the Haro Freestyle team, Dave Nourie. Dave, how are you doing, man?
Awesome. We just finished the first round of AFA for 2017. It was amazing and just good to be here. I love just supporting the scene and trying to help, grow BMX one link at a time.
Awesome. Dave, you've been around and seen it all. You saw BMX when it was up here, and now it's not up here anymore. As far as popularity goes, it's still just as fun, but as far as drawing fans and attention, it's sank. What do you think it would take to get it back up to the levels it was?
I think you can never go back in time. People compare to what it was like in the 80s. It was a different time, and there was a lot of things happening that were available to a rider or potential rider that they can go to an event, they can go to a horror show, they can go to an AFA contest, and there's not as much distraction. It's kind of how I look at it. So I think now if we look at what we're doing, what James is putting off with the AFA is giving kids that want to check it out an opportunity at least to get exposed to it and enter in the beginner's class and work up to the expert and then eventually go pro if it fits, and it's a process they want to go through. But there's a lot of tricks that you see on videos and YouTube that are so hard, and it's really discouraging. I think it takes some dedication and some really good discipline to get to that level. So it's probably discouraging. I would be discouraged if I got into riding right now. I would probably ride the skate parks that are all over Southern Oregon. There's amazing parks. It's a lot of fun. You can just roll in, learn stuff, and I see some of that crossover you do in Flatland where those kids are riding BMX on the skate park is an ideal way to just expose them to it, because they generally are interested. And then, just explain that this is just another discipline that's part of BMX. Back in the day, it was all included. We did a little bit of everything, and look at the opportunities that you can create other stuff when you know Flatland, whether it's deck tricks or street or whatever. So yeah, I would think that would be, my thoughts on it is just that doing more events that can get people exposed, and then encouraging that ability to be original and keep it simple. I teach some bike classes, and I teach them really basic tricks, and I just say that's going to be the starting point of, you do a peg wheelie eventually could turn into a time machine. And if you had that first basic trick that you can build on, you're going to link it with other tricks, and then ultimately you would have a contest run and go enter the contest.
The whole point of Old Fat Guy BMX is to get people back on their bikes who, for whatever reason, stopped riding, and people like me, 20 years later, they realize, hey, this is still just as fun as it's always been.
Yeah.
What keeps you motivated? What keeps you back on the bike? What keeps it fresh and new to you?
Because I never really lost that desire to go out and show off. I mean, I'm not the kind of rider that goes to a parking lot and practices for 8 hours a day or something. I never was that rider. I always would go to the beach and I'd have music. My formula for a riding scene would be music, some other riders to hang out with, and some people that were, basically showing what we do. That's what I really get fed by. And now I just feel like there's this contest here. So when I turned 50, actually it was Dub he did a message on Facebook and said, "Nourie, you should come out to my contest in Montreal." And I was just like, it was just kind of like a dream, right? I went home and my wife Paula was like, "You should buy a ticket. You should buy a ticket. It's a $700 ticket." I don't have a sponsor to pay for my tickets anymore, but that's all good. I want to go back and just get a taste of it. And that was 2 years ago last August, and I haven't stopped since. Then I found out that AFA is coming back, and I'm like, I'm going to go to these. So I meet people that are at these events that are like, "Yeah, Dave, I used to ride, and now I got my bike out," and it's really encouraging to just see how, I mean, we're really fortunate to have such a close community of riders and the scene. I go to the old school reunion that Steve Swope puts on, and every year, I mean 9 years in a row, it just gets richer and richer in the community. And so with that kind of, you know, movement, then you have these riders that have kids that are riding and they're exposed to it, and whatever they do, you know, I think it just popped in my head is Volker's kid. I mean, he's killing it out there, you know, and like just to see these people that are still riding or coming back into the scene, and their kids, or you know, their kids' friends that want to get into the sport, which is awesome.
So Haro is in your blood. That's what I hear. How does that work?
Well, I mean, I was really fortunate that was my first sponsor. It was an amazing team to ride for, and you know, I did it for the prime of my riding career, and traveled the world, got to hang out with Ron and Brian. I mean, we were learning life together in many realms, traveling together and seeing the world. I have my youngest kid is 21, and he actually 20, and he just went to Australia, or he's going to Australia just in a couple weeks, and I'm really encouraging him to like see the world, and that opportunity that I had when I was young to travel all over the States and other places, other countries. It was such a great lesson. And now I forgot what the question was because I went on a tangent. Sorry. What was it? You said, oh, Haro is my blood. Yeah. So, and then, you know, if you think about Haro, and you shouldn't edit this, you should just keep it in there. It makes it good for good content. No, but Haro, then, like in 2009, they basically bring back the team. And Stefan Pronto brought us back to the Worlds, and Haro sent me a bike, and I wanted it ahead of time because I wanted to get it all, you know, I wanted to practice on this master that I hadn't rode for years. And it was just the most incredible. We did two of them. We did one in 2009, one in 2012. And they were just so amazing. And Haro's done a really good job of retelling that story, you know, and just, they have the Legends team, and they've been like constant with the bikes that they're reissuing. And I see people that go, oh my gosh, that was my first master. And I just, you know, there's this emotional connection to it. And I think that's another key element, you know, just to have that, like you said, you know, like I still remember those days just like it was yesterday, and that can feed us in such a wonderful way.
It's just as fun, but when you fall, it takes a little bit longer to get back up.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had a little injury that my shoulder finally feels pretty much 100%, and I didn't even do it biking. I did it when I was in Mexico boogie boarding, but yeah, it really set me back. Every contest last year when I would get home, I was like, okay, I gotta do some kind of therapy and get it. I didn't want to do surgery, but I wanted to get it healthy again, because I figure there's like three as a rider, I think of it, there's three aspects. There's your physical, you know, your actual physical health, there's your ability, and then there's your mental state. And for me, like I rode really well today, but there's always more ability. But I got the first year riding in old school, I was able to just feel comfortable and not have so much stress and be mentally more prepared. I wasn't as nervous. I was still nervous. I'm nervous pretty much every show, but I wasn't as nervous. Yeah, no, every show I get a little bit, you know, whatever reason, it makes me human, and I want to really ride well. And like, yeah, it doesn't matter if there's just a handful of people watching or whatever venue it may be. So last year I really got that fine-tuned, and also being a pro class, you know, there's not as much like competition because I'm going to try to, you know, beat Bill and try to, you know, win the year-end title. So there's a little bit of relief in that regard, but also there's a little bit more like, wow, this is the pro class. I have to represent my little niche from, you know, the 80s and what my tricks were about and what they are about now in the pro class, and that's holds, you know, quite a bit for me. And then, so I just got to get that physical, and then the mental, and then your ability. And I'm on this new master. I only had it together for a week now. I wasn't sure if I was going to ride it. John Bolgen's like, you got to put it together for Woodward. He sent it to me like 2 weeks ahead of time, and I like barely got it together. And I was messing with him. I'm like, oh yeah. He asked me, where's your bike? I go, I didn't get it together. He was like, no, you can't. What? This guy got it together in one night. Long story short, I got it dialed in, and I was able to compete on it this last time. So I feel good that I got a new bike, a little bit more new school, not quite as heavy, and I can, you know, work on the ability part of it. and keep my physical, ability as well.
I actually touched on a couple things I want to go back to.
Sure.
It's fascinating that to hear you say that when you compete, you get nervous. Because there's people, again, coming back to people my age, people your age, who want to get back into it, and they're afraid. And like, if you've been doing it for as long as you have, and you still get the butterflies, then it's totally okay for them to do it,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, coming out and just like showing up, just that act of showing up. I remember in Houston last year, Robert Castillo just showed up. Between James and I, we talked him into riding. He actually rode, I can't remember what place he got in Houston. I think he might have got 5th. Oh, I better know that. What is it? He got 4th or 5th.
Okay. Then
he rode in Denver at the Colorado Springs, and he was hooked. He practiced, and he like killed it. And he got 3rd, I think. Yeah, 3rd. And then he ended up getting overall because he was the only other rider that had gone to more contests, So now he's hooked. And I think, those are the kind of stories that we'll be telling for years, where people will come back out and they'll be a little bit out of their comfort zone, and that's okay. Like, that's what life should be about, Get out of your comfort zone. This AFA event is perfect for that, because you can come, you can ride in old school class. I mean, if we're talking about riders that are, they rode, maybe they competed back in the day a little bit, and then they stop riding and they want to come back. I think it's a perfect class to go out and play. And then maybe it's a younger rider that just wants to come out and get exposed to it. So I think that it's really fortunate that we have it, for sure.
All right, I've just got 2 more questions.
All right.
With all the resurge in people collecting old bikes, and then the repops coming out, and basically what's old is new again, where do you see the sport going from here? Like, what's next for BMX?
That's a kind of a broad question. Can you specify a little bit more? Like, because I get the whole, like, I feel with the old school bikes itself, there's, like what I talked about earlier, there's this emotional connection that someone like our age will see that and remember, and then they're either going to want to buy it to ride it, or they're going to buy it to collect it. But it seems like you're asking something a little bit broader than that.
I'm just curious, like, where do you see things going? Like, you can't reinvent the wheel, but where do you see the wheel rolling to?
Right, okay. Yeah, I feel, we obviously have different disciplines that are really taking their own direction, so to speak. Not like when BMX, everybody rode a little bit. You did a little bit of ramp, you did a little bit of flatland. There was not very many, single riders that just did one thing. And then that started to organically change. So how I can answer that best, because I'm not as connected with street or even park or half pipe, I feel like flatland is, an excellent arena for people to be really creative and step into that, ability to go out there and just challenge themselves in a creative mindset, as well as a physical, what you can do physically on this bike. So I'm fortunate enough to be able to see that curve over the years and watch like the top riders that rode today, and the ability and what they're doing is just fascinating. And I don't think it's going to stop. I think about the Master of Creativity contest, and those riders have an opportunity to compete, but they don't have to, come out and do a contest run, which is great. I mean, it's an amazing way to elevate the sport by the degree of difficulty, because they can be videoing, they could be riding for 6 hours, they get that clip, they can enter in the contest, and rightfully so. They pulled it. Now, to get to that trick dialed enough to bring into a contest would probably be another layer and another level of expertise. But I thought it was brilliant. I just ate it up watching all the riders and what they were able to pull off because of that format. So I feel like more and more people will do that. They'll be introducing stuff like AFA, where it's grassroots. Come, let's do what we've done, and let's keep building, the riders that want to get into it. And then there'll be stuff like Master of Creativity that's just allowing you to be like, all right, the sky's the limit. You got 15 seconds to no even edits or special effects. It's just your clips submitted to these judges, and they're gonna basically judge on how hard, or how mainly it seems like the creativity and how hard the trick is. So I think that's where BMX is going, specifically with flatland.
Okay. Dave, thank you for all the time you've given us, or given me, given the viewers. It's, again, little kid me, little teenager me is just, my mind is blown right now that I'm having you on my YouTube show. Sponsors, plugs, ways to get a hold of you. What do you got?
Oh, so sponsors, Haro is just like you said earlier, it's in my blood. I've been with them from day one, and they've supported me over the years. So yeah, just very much feel super lucky that Bob saw something in me that he wanted to, make a good fit to share the world with and show me what could come on a BMX. Totally fortunate. Vans has always helped me out, so I'm really supportive. Rick Moliterno, Standard, made me some bars back in the 90s and rode them all the way up until just recently. I got some new bars from him. And then this company Zagster, which is a second job that I got. It's a bike share program in my area, and it helps earn a little bit of money that I can travel with and do these events. So, did I answer everything? What was the other question?
Let's say people want to contact you, book you for an event.
Yeah.
How do they do it?
Yeah, best thing is just use Instagram or Facebook. Just find me there and message me and let me know what you're working on. I'd love to come out and support any kind of thing that has to do with growing BMX, especially with kids. I'm at that stage of my life where I really feel just grateful to be giving back on whatever level that I can.
They say everything happens for a reason, and what you didn't see is this is the third time we did this interview because of technical difficulties. And in its own way, I'm glad it worked out that way, because your answers, not that the other ones were bad, but these were really deep, and I think the message is going to get across.
Yeah, I think so too. And I had the attention because I wanted to hear the pro results. So my attention was elsewhere earlier, and now we got just some time to chill and just, like I said earlier, you show up. You can fully take a minute and show up and have these conversations. So thank you so much.
So Dave, thank you so much, and thank you for watching.
All right. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, that was good. See you.